Hello, we are back reading audiobook Uncaged Faces of Sigil. Really cool non-player character book centered around Sigil in the Planescape multiverse from the second edition of D&D. Still a lot of really good stuff for our Planescape campaigns nowadays. If you're interested in it, if you're interested in Sigil, this is getting us a lot of good meat and potatoes, a lot of good behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, whatever term you want to use, but to help us understand how the city works, some of the life styles, some of the stuff that's going on in the city. Sigil is this huge concept, this huge undertaking of this multiversal place that has representatives of every single form of sentient life. And that can be overwhelming for a DM to kind of get their mind around. I think this book does a wonderful job of giving us personalities to go along with our people, gives us information, gives us lore, and gives us adventure hooks along the way. So enough talking, let's get to reading. As usual, we'll read through the content first. We'll talk about how it can apply to adventure hooks, possible things needed for modern systems, all of that. But let's get into it. Our next reading is Milori. The cage has plenty of sods who know their way around a language or six, and any mage worth his shoes can cast comprehend languages to pick up cryptic chant. But the Lyland translator Milori specializes in messages that are most often misunderstood. See, newcomers to Sigil usually hit the blinds trying to cut through the jumbled syntax of a Zausetect or the phonetic pictures of a Dabu, and many old-timers don't have much like either. Zausetect's babble comes easily to Milori. It takes about a second to rearrange the words of a scrambled sentence so it makes sense. But Dabu rebuses are where the Lyland really shines. Milori speaks to the Dabu with admiration and empathy. When Dabu speak their mind, it's all out in the open, pictures for everyone to see. Problem is, as primes say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. No one's sure what they mean. The Dabus are different, and folks don't want to go in the trouble to figure them out. Her favorite example is a Dabu symbol of two pointy-eared heads. She once showed the image to 10 folks on the street, and each one read it differently. Elves, faces, heads, two, and so on. Missing just one symbol in a rebu can foul up the whole interpretation. But Milori picks up on subtleties others miss. She seems to intuitively feel a Dabu's intent, so she always knows the correct way to read a rebus. Of course, that doesn't stop detractors from accusing her of slanting her translations, seeing as no one can tell for sure if she's doing it right or not. One such Burke, Jeremo the Natterer, full of the Palace of the Jester, has a one-of-a-kind magic item, the Helm of Dabu, that let him communicate its symbols. He translates it for a body too if he's in the mood, and if he's paid 100 gold piece per reboot. Milori charges a much more modest 10 gold pieces per full encounter, so Jeremo tries to cast as much doubt as he can about her accuracy. But Milori's much friendlier in her brassy sort of way, and her days are full of bookings. Unlike many successful translators, the Lillian doesn't fade into the background easily. She's got the head, torso, and arms of a human female, but from the waist down sports the scaled body of a 20-foot-long serpent. Her snake halves ringed with thick bands of burgundy, black, and green. Broad and powerful wings rise from the middle of her narrow back, the long feathers speckled with the same three colors that stripe her lower body. Jeweled hoops and bracelets hang from her arms and her ears, and she carries a spear at all times. Her long black hair falls in scores of thin braids, each finished on the end with a tied cloth. Milori's upper half is free of clothing, not many garments that fit over her thick tail or wide wings, but every last inch of her human skin is covered just the same. Overlapping tattoos of Elindi totems masks blanket her face, wrap around her neck and arms, and cloak her torso in a pale, muted tapestry of blank stares. It wasn't modesty for her exposed skin that sent Milori to a tattoo artist, just that her light pink torso paled in comparison with the rest of her body. Naturally, she picked the cutter known for the most realistic designs in the cage, the rogue Dabu Fell. Banished by his own kind and feared by half the city, no sods want to get near a likely target of the lady's blades. Fell was just the sort of blood Milori wanted to know. The Lyland was excruciatingly specific about each design. Thus, she spent a great deal of her free time at Fell's outdoor shop in the market ward. Day after day, she got to see firsthand the trouble Fell had in making himself understood to others. His picture symbols made conversations with customers a slow and often fruitless game. Milori couldn't understand why anyone had a problem deciphering the symbols. They were perfectly clear to her. She grew into the habit of pointing to the pictures above Fell's head with her spear and explaining what sound each symbol stood for. One day she drew a few pictures and their meanings on a scrap of parchment so a frustrated tiefling could take it with him for future reference. When Milori's torso was at last fully covered with totem tattoos, Fell confessed that he hated to see her go. Not only did he cherish their daily chats, but he knew that without her, he'd once again have to struggle to make himself understood to bewildered sods off the street. So, as a gift of solidarity and friendship, Milori put together a small book translating Fell's most common symbols. A slim volume of the Dabus still happily hands to each new customer. That's all it took to get the fireball rolling. Milori knew she had a hot idea and talked to the governors into letting her use their master scribes, all in the name of promoting order and unity. Within 2 months, she was selling the Dabu Common Phrasebook, or the Dark Revealed, all over town. Though the initial fervors died down, a body can still pick up a copy at her den-like home in the clerk's ward. That's also where the folks go to hire her translation skills. Like most Lilendi, Milori grasped the dark of any intelligent communication, from scribbling to babbling to signing. She's always glad to negotiate a deal between a slotty merchant and a prime elf, or make sure that a chittering of a Formian delegate ain't lost on the high-ups in the Hall of Speakers. Fact is, Milori set up shop close by the Civic Fest Hall, where she gives twice-weekly lectures on the tongues of the plains. Her talk on Bladeling dialects packs the house. Even without the profit from her book, Milori is always ready to take on new jobs. The Dabu Common Phrasebook doesn't begin to exhaust their vocabulary of symbols, not to mention the differences between individual Dabu. And with all the prime and planar races crowding into the cage, a hodgepodge of buyers, sellers, and yellers all speaking different tongues, Milori can always find a Burke in desperate need of her linguistic skills. So, Milori is a Lilend, basically a celestial version of our Merilith, okay? D&D speak. We've got the Meriliths, the snake-bodied, super badass demons that got 6 arms and can beat the hell out of you all day long. Milori represents the Lilend, which are the celestial versions of the same. Serpent-bodied females, grand angelic wings, lots of power. So Milori's gonna be, she's tough. This came from the Plains of Chaos. Back in the day, Lilends are mentioned a couple times in 3rd edition, but we haven't had stat blocks for them since then. But anyway, personality, she's individualistic, bold, and intuitive. If you're looking around, the location, Milori's seen translating all over Sigil, though she's based in the Clerk's Ward near the Civic Fest Hall. If you're role-playing Milori, she's unabashed about dealing with others and saying what she thinks, but she's not rude. She's very approachable. She responds best to those who stand up for what they believe and dare to be different. Average polite appeals for her help don't get attention nearly as much as do passionate, unusual requests. In combat, if attacked, Milori tries to swat the aggressor with her tail or crush him in its coils, taking flight if necessary to drop him from a great height, or just place him on a roof or in some other precarious position. She uses spells or musical charms to handle minor threats. So yeah, if you piss her off, she's just going to grab you in her snake tail, fly you up, and drop you and let you smoosh. Chaotic good in alignment, for the record. Anywho, what does she bring to our table? First and foremost, this is really the first time that we've gotten into the in this book that we've taken a look at languages in the cage. I know it may have been in the back of your mind, but if you have people coming from, one of the funny jokes I always tell is common the same on Toril as it is on Oerth, as it is on Kryn, as it is on Eberron, as it is on Ravnica, as it is on Theros, as it is on Athos, on and on and on and on. I just listed 8 official gameplay settings between TSR and Wizards that all use common as a language. Now, a little bit of a caveat. 5th edition's 2024 revision posits that humans came from Sigil, that no one knows where they came from in the multiverse, but humans spread from Sigil to the material plane, inhabiting the worlds, and that's where common came from. If you follow that nomenclature, if you follow that timeline, then it is what it is, but there's still thousands of other languages out there. But so if you go in the reverse, that each world has its own language, each world has its own people on the prime material plane, and then each of the alignments has their own language, and each of the races that live on the outer planes associated with the alignments have their own language, and then you have thieves' cant, then you have factions speak, and then, no and then. Yeah, but yes, more and then. Language can be a huge stumbling block if you feature it in your campaign. Some DMs ignore it. Everyone speaks common. It's not a big deal. We want to focus on having fun and relaxing gameplay, and that's cool. But if you want to add more immersion to your world, if you want to make it genuinely something that this is a hodgepodge of races from across the multiverse, they don't all speak the same languages, then suddenly people like Milori and people like ourselves become very important. Translation. Yeah, comprehend languages can work, and honestly, the simple existence of comprehend languages can reduce or eliminate the need for translator NPCs. But Milori and others of her kind can certainly fill in that gap. A middle ground, a mediator, someone that can take a Slotty and take a Vrock and take a Deva and take your party from Toril and have a conversation with them without everything getting lost in translation, right? Yeah, so, and the second thing is we kind of take a look at the Dabu as we look at her article. The ever-present guardians of Sigil. We looked at Fel earlier, several videos ago. I think that was what, part 12, when we looked at the Dabu Fel and his magical tattoos. Milori and Fel are kind of linked at the hip in regards to storylines. If you're going to use one, you can certainly use the other. So the next thing we'll look at before we end the video is the excerpts from the Dabu Common Phrase book. Now this is something we used to have a lot of fun back in the old days. I don't know how well multimedia and modern gamers would dictate it. But so if a Dabu is speaking to a person, a word does not come out of their mouth. These symbols that you're seeing on these pages literally manifest above them. Just poof, pop into being, an illusion, a hologram, whatever you want to call it. So when they're trying to communicate, it's pictographs, man. As it says, you see not, you can see a noodle and you see a cloud minus a needle. Not so. Cloud minus C is loud. I plus M, I'm. Not. D plus F. You. Snow minus the S. If your party enjoys puzzles, if your party enjoys this kind of a thing, then yeah, then you can really lead them into some fun with the Dabu. And here's the other thing. If your players are able to communicate directly with Dabu, that gives them a one-up over the rest of the people in the cage, because most people avoid them. They're afraid of the servants of the Lady of Pain. But this is more for immersion than anything else, but it's kind of fun. What do you mean, where's the prime word? What? W plus hat, what? Pointing at the dew, so you're going to have this hologram of a leaf with a little bit of a dew and an arrow pointing at the dew. What do you mean? A bean minus B plus M. Where's WHHER plus S? Where's D prime P? Yeah, so it's pretty fun. You can have a lot of fun with this little symbol system if you lean into it. Again, we're not trying to add cumbersome mechanics to our game. We're not trying to make our jobs harder as DMs in regards to prep. What we are trying to do is add immersion, add wow factor, add something to the city that makes our players engage with it, that makes it feel like a living place. Not just a quest board, and not just a fucking armory, and not just a spell shop. We want Sigil to feel alive, to feel strange, to feel unusual, and eventually to feel like home. And adding these kind of elements to your game, adding these kind of elements to your prep will certainly go a long way to building the immersion, to increasing engagement within the setting. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave off here. We looked at Milori, a very interesting creature, and the Dabu language, the idea of incorporating non-player characters in the interpretation, just to really emphasize the difference, the wow factor in all of the outer plane people, all the inner plane people, all the prime material people playing, people from the prime material plane stuck in this gigantic donut, this chaos donut, as it were. Someone's got to speak all the languages, and Milori is one of those people who can do it. Hey, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for your time. Likes, follows, subscribes, all the cool things are appreciated. Yeah, join us over on Twitch for live chat. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And above all else, I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you for future videos soon. Take care.